Good morning, everyone. Nice to see you all here today. My name is Joey Yao. I am the organizer for the Cultural Thursday program, as well as the director of the Central Lakes Community Performing Arts Center. It's great to see so many of you here today. We had a fantastic earlier discussion today at 10 o'clock, and if you were at that discussion, thank you for coming back. It is my pleasure to introduce you all today to welcome and introduce you to Adrienne Benjamin. She is a dynamic artist and community activist who hails from the Mille Lacs Band of the Ojibwe. Her remarkable journey includes accomplishments as a master dressmaker, a mother of two, writer, organizer of youth programs on the Mille Lacs Reservation. She has received numerous honors and fellowships since 2016, and she currently works as a reconciliation advisor for Minnetonka Moccasins. Presenting with Adrienne today will be District 2 Representative Wendy Merrill, John P. Benjamin, and as well as John's son, Joseph. I would also like to take a moment to acknowledge the work of the International Education Week, who shared with us this message. In honor of International Education Week, November 13th through the 17th, CLC and the Global Education Committee would like to recognize the Cultural Thursday series. Our wide array of speakers and all audience participants who have supported the program over the last 25 years. We are proud at CLC to value global education and encourage you to stay informed of all the exciting global ed opportunities that CLC strives to offer our greater campus community, and happy International Education Week. You can find out a little bit more about International Education Week with a display that is in the lobby after the show. We may be taking questions at the end. I will be coming around with the microphone. We are recording today's presentation, so if you have a question, if you would please just wait a moment for me to arrive with the microphone so we can make sure that the video picks up your question. So thank you again for being here, and please join me in welcoming Adrienne to the stage.
All right, Anine. Amekagabuikwe, Indigenous Cause, Mrs. Aga, Ganing and Dunjaba, Chamanising and Da. My name is Adrienne Benjamin in English, and I come from the smallest community in Mille Lacs, also known as Isle. To us, it's called Chamanising, and which is also part of the Mille Lacs Band of Ojibwe. So I'm here today. I was here earlier. Again, if you came, I echo that, what Joseph just said. If you were here for earlier, thanks for coming back. So this is getting into a totally different realm of what we're going to talk about today, and that's the jingle dress. So many people do or maybe do or don't know that the jingle dress came from the Mille Lacs Reservation. There also is other stories around, the area from as far as Canada to other places that do have origin stories of their own. And I'm definitely not here to dispute that or challenge that in any way. The way that I best look at that is that how lovely it is that all of those stories in this dress was brought to all of those different spaces and places all at the same time. So I just want to lay that out there because some people, they're like, nope, it came from here. But this is our story specifically from the Mille Lacs region about the dress in general. So just to give you a little bit of background, I feel really honored and grateful to be able to tell the story, to talk about the dress, because it was something that was very special to my wa'an, who is no longer with us, who you'll get to actually see thanks to technology. His name is Larry Smallwood. Amekagaboy Bun is what he is known as. And he told this story all over the country. I think actually when the National Museum of the American Indian opened, this was one of the stories that was told at that opening. With some folks from the community and showing the four colors, which you'll also see in this short video that I show. This became a huge phenomenon in Indian country across indigenous tribes in the United States. And it grew from just this dream that someone had in the community, which you'll see this story, I don't want to get too far into it, into you see it everywhere now at powwows across the US, Canada, everywhere. And it is spiritually significant dress as well, because of the way that it came to the people and what they believe that it does as a healing dress as well, which you'll again see in the story. Again, it is my great honor to always talk about this, but because technology exists, I don't feel like there's any better way that I could tell it, so I always let my Bun tell the story in this short video, which I'm just gonna show a clip of, but I will preface and say that it is available on YouTube. It was a production with TPT and PBS stations. There's a whole maybe 26-minute movie about the story, and it gets further into detail kind of about the movement of it today. But without further ado, I will let Amika Gabwe-Bun tell you the Jingle Dress story.
There was a man and a woman living down there, and the man finally told his wife, he said, you know, I've been having these dreams about these ladies dancing.
Ningi puaj game in oa.
Aning ka naban naman.
Migo na saba pane. Niwen ni kwewag ni miwad. Niwen and nandewan oga dudasawan.
Aning ka nandek.
Bejig me squa. Na bejig o jawa squa. Minwa bejig o zawa. Na bejig a nibi shabaganande.
Their dresses are different. They make a noise. He said little metal things look like was sewn on their outfits, on their dresses.
Iabi na gego.
Biwabi kunsan. Biwabi kunsan giyo gadeni wanama oga dudasawan.
Biwabi kunsan. Awe ko ni dinawa biwabi kunsan.
Mi wanda min weweni. Mir jigwa and goji. Ni wing bawana gwa.
Oh. Aning kaya ga pagisawat.
Mi eita jigwayak. Gawin gi ajeshimo siwag. Gawin gaye gi kijabashimo siwag. Gi wa jepe bagizawag.
Oh. Kita wabin tayo na.
Baker. Nina named them. Gay Iji Nikinian. Ne what Jepa Bugis.
Oh. Mina okay? Mina okay geishi ni Kenya?
Gama.
Aha. Mina ogoyak? Ndawo JP bagis na?
Yeah. Me ate goyak.
Mina goyak?
Yep.
Aha. Mina ishi goyak?
Going to Jeshima Siwak.
To is chiga dewan the naindam gonna put daga wage mag on in the kwewa gay we do kawiwad.
Yeah.
She got together with some ladies in the community, and they made those dresses how he described them and showed them how to dance. When they were finished with those, sometime later on, they were having a drum ceremony. During the break in the afternoon, he got up and he spoke of his dream about these ladies.
Akwe nuit bajam gegu. Apane ningi hawanag niwin kwewag nimiwad. Bebakan gianande niwan. Gapiza kamawad. Mi dash, Gaiji Oja Tuwan, Ongo Ikwewag. Weweni Gae, Ningi, Pinda Kunja Gamen. Aho, Minik.
During that ceremony, he had a little girl, it was his daughter. She was laying there. She was so sick she couldn't move, couldn't get up. But when those ladies started dancing, she heard that sound that the dresses were making. She kind of sat up, perked up a little bit. As the afternoon and evening went on, she was eventually sitting up. She was actually out there dancing with those ladies in those dresses. And that's why people say that's a healing dress. Other tribes may have their own version of how the jingle dress started, but this is our version here in Mille Lacs. My grandma, the late Lucy Clark from Wedway, she said those ladies always behaved themselves in a really proper manner. She said, and they danced. They danced, they had pride. She said they were never dancing backwards or spinning around. It was just straight. So that was the beginning of the jingle dress, according to my elders. Now, they said they sent one dress up to Canada, somewhere around the Fort Francis area. And another one went to our relatives up in White Earth. And our White Earth relatives gave our Lakota people the dress, shared it with them because they were close by.
My understanding of the stories associated with the jingle dress is that this tradition appears soon after, we can see in the photographic record, around the Mille Lacs region in central Minnesota around circa 1920, which tells me it's the time of the World War I era, the conclusion of the war, as well as this global epidemic of influenza. Other Ojibwe people have similar stories, including the Whitefish Bay, Ontario community, who, from what I have heard, the story is nearly identical to the one at Mille Lacs. And then there are also some communities around the Rainy River area of the border of the United States and Canada that also seem to have new women's traditions of dance at this same time. So I myself can't pinpoint, did it arise in Canada? Did it arise in central Minnesota? Did it rise along the border of the United States and Canada? But what that tells me as a historian is that something very big has happened in Ojibwe communities for this really important and long-lasting tradition to emerge at that particular time. What's interesting to me that the very moment when the federal government is trying to suppress Indian dance and religion across the United States, there was in fact a very famous circular that came out of the Indian office at the time that was called the Dance Order that expressly forbid these traditions of music and dance. That at this very moment, this new tradition emerges among the Ojibwe women of the Great Lakes. So something happened in the 80s and the 90s so that this tradition, which had been confined primarily to the Great Lakes, it became a very widespread pan-Indian phenomena, perhaps with the rise of the northern and southern powwow circuits.
The music for jingle dress dancing most common is a straight song.
The straight dance, we just dance with the beat of the drum. We go forward and we go clockwise around the drummers.
It goes something like this. It took a long time for me to get it just right, from the feel of the drum to watching them, how they dance. To keep time with them.
Second to that is what they call a side step.
The side step is kind of going from side to side and you're going with the beat. You're not dancing like a straight song, you're actually going sideways, and it's more of a woman thing to do.
As we were taught a long time ago about the sidestep dancing, we were taught to only sing them only at night. Nowadays you see a lot of them being sung during the contemporary powwows during the day, but those weren't our teachings.
Style jingle dress can be from 1900 all the way to 1950, and you're going to look at a completely different kind of dress.
Historically, the jingle dress cones were made from chewing tobacco lids. And sometimes, depending the area where the people were making them, sometimes they did use copper. And from what I was told, that some people used lids from other things, or they cut them out and then rolled them so that it would make like a clinking sound. Depending what they used, each dress sounded different. I was taught that the cones were used to send the spirits to help peel.
They used to use tin cans, beer cans even, or any kind of cans I've seen on really old dresses, and they used to make them a little more special by turning the outside of the can outward so that the cones were then like kind of decorated and colored. Otherwise they'd turn them inward and just keep them silver, but I've seen it both ways, and those were really old ones that they used to do that with. I made my first dress when I was about 14 off of a pattern that someone had given me, and it was a rough road of learning until I actually met someone who makes them for a living, and she was nice enough to really like hone in my skills and teach me like almost like a boot camp, and since then I've been making pretty good ones, I think. So I just wanted to retell just a little piece of that, just for, like, I know that some folks, the auditory, and yeah, just so everybody can get the same experience. because there was subtitles. So the man who had this dream dreamt of these women dancing forward in a S-like pattern. They didn't go backwards, and the 4 colors that were dreamt about were red, green, blue, and yellow. And so they took those dresses into the community, or decided that they should be made. And I just think that that point right there is so cool, like to think about in general speaking, because so many of the things that Anishinaabe people have came from those dreams. Even thinking about it, we planned this, came from dreams. Even to think about the harvest of wild rice, how intricate that process is, that we learned all of those things from that. And I think about it in the terms of, imagine this thing being made and being introduced into the community, and it's this dress that is making all of this noise, and somebody said that they dreamt it, and then all of a sudden this girl gets well listening to it, and how amazing that must have been in that time period. As the historian that was referenced, Brenda Child, said in the script there, that this was actually allotted back to the time of the first influenza. And so it was a really big deal that this dress kind of had a resurgence too during these last, our COVID era, as we all went through together. And there were people that were sharing themselves dancing across the internet during that time, which was very cool to see it in a, new age setting. To go off of the last little point there, I do make dresses now for a lot of different folks. I like to say that it blows my mind to think of the level that I'm making them, because I just enjoy it. I love putting together the color combos. Like this outfit for me, if I could like wear stuff like this regularly, and I've always been like makeup pro and whatever, all this stuff. So it's like really fun for me to like, and it's really like allowed me to have a creative space to make cool stuff. And I never thought, it goes back to, if you were in my session 1, that would be something that was celebrated and accepted, right? And I also like to share this little context about how, like maybe we don't look deep enough within our own stories or our own life about maybe the little signs that might point you in certain directions. And I just recently had this thought and was thinking about it, and it kind of contexted the last time that I did this presentation. I did it with Wendy, John, and Joseph as well. We all come from a similar family tree of Benjamins, which are District 1 Benjamins, Wendy's grandmother, my grandpa, and John's dad were all brother and sisters. So I like to tell this story in the context, all of their mother was named Hannah, and she was very old when I knew her. My grandpa would go visit her in the nursing home all the time. And I just had this like epiphany like a long time ago. It was one of my earliest memories, was going to visit her in the hospital, and they would just sit there and they would speak Ojibwe back and forth to each other, and I would just, sit there and be like, play my toys, whatever it was, because I didn't know what was going on. But every single time that I left her room, she always had like a little plastic bag of snuff tops, and it smelled gross because she chewed wintergreen flavor. And I remember just being like, I honestly must have been 6 or 7, maybe even 5, I don't know, whatever our earliest can recall. But I remember we'd get out to the truck, and I'd be sitting there with my grandpa, and he'd have that bag of, lids in between us. And I was always like, how come she always gives me those like gross lids, and they stink? And I just, I'd like make all these little kid comments about it. And he was like, she wants you to make a dress, and I remembered that, and I wrote some poetry around it too. And I just thought about that, and like how this story and how this specific dress has like carried my art and my career and my life. And like just thinking back to that of being a kid and not even having any clue that old lady was trying to tell me then, right? To keep that up, to do that, and to like be a dressmaker. And here I am doing it all the time. And I've honored the people that have been asking me in my career recently to make for them are like champion dancers across the country. A little bit about that as for a reference. So nowadays there's powwows where they have, I guess, a contest for each specific dance style, like it be Jingle, or there's men's different styles of dance, and they have a powwow that's specifically dedicated to a contest in those different dance arenas. So these like really popular and famous jingle dress dancers are asking me for dresses now, which is cool. I'm like, hey, that's pretty cool. So I look back to this video because this was probably 10 years ago, and just I always like tease Wendy and my other cousin Darcy because I was like, they stayed with me and they wore my dresses when they weren't that good. They still supported them, and even Sierra, who is in the video, also has quite a few dresses of mine as well. And we'll get to meet Wendy and John and Joseph here in a second. But I just wanted to share that. It's like, you know, I can look at that dream and think about it in those really deep ways and what it has meant for us as the Mille Lacs community, but even for myself personally. And to be able to stand up here and tell that story, and I just think about that and really like pay homage to Larry, to Mikagabawibun, for continuing that for us, right? For me and for Wendy, for John to be able to tell you about it, because he really was like hugely advocating to talk about that story and how special it was for Mille Lacs people. So I always like to talk about that, and I love that line in this movie where he says, I don't know anything except for what they told me. I love that. Like, I live by that, and I just think that's so important, like specifically for Indigenous folks, is like so many things were attempted to be taken away from us, that those elders really did all they could to keep all of those things for us. And I just love that he says that, because he was someone in our community that really, did that for us, like kept the language alive and kept these stories alive for us to be able to share and even make a life out of, to teach and to educate other people and to, be proud of who we are. And so that all being said, I know that it's cool to see all of this, right, on a video, but it's even cooler to have it for you live and to hear it, and it's a different feeling in your body, I feel like, when you can experience something in person. So I will bring up the rest of my presenters, two singers, John P. Benjamin, because I have an uncle that's named John L. Benjamin, so we've distinguished that. John and his son Joseph Benjamin. John is an amazing language speaker. He's somebody who is a language teacher. He's taught at Nayashing, at Onemia, at many different places. He's a drum keeper also for our community. And I always say this, and he's taught at CLC, he said, as well. I always give John mad props. I was very lucky in that my grandpa used to bring me to the dance hall a long time ago to old powwows, and I'd hear these elders like singing as I grew up. And to me, there's nobody that sounds like that anymore except John. And so I love it when he agrees to come and be a part of my shenanigans and sing for people, because I feel like if you ever want to experience like what it sounded like a long time ago, there's recordings, of course, but I feel like John was taught by some really old folks in our community that, and he carries it forward just like Larry did too. So very special. So he'll be singing 2 songs, and next I'll introduce Wendy Merrill. Bebiskaneashikwe. I say it just because it's a tongue twister. So Wendy is the Honorable District 2 representative. I said I was from Chiminising. She represents that community in our tribal government, and it's an elected position. So I always give her mad props for that, because it's pretty amazing to step into those leadership roles, and especially as a woman, she's in there doing it. So it's amazing for her. And also before that, she spent time in education, working as the Indian Ed Director for Isle Public Schools. So a lot of us up here have been in the education game for a long time, just wanting to gain some understanding and share so that people, get it a little deeper than just what's being not taught in history books. That's a good way to say it. So without further ado, you've seen Tom. I don't know how is Tom related to us. I don't know, his last name is Benjamin too. But he's a Benjamin, he said. But he kind of explained these two different songs, and these are the two different songs that that are used for this dress. One is just a straight song, and he talked about that, so that's the first song that you'll hear. And then the second song is actually called the Women's Song, and it's a sidestep. And that's, I think, what you most commonly see. That actually originated from our drum ceremonies in Mille Lacs as well, that song. So a lot of people say that Mille Lacs is the home of the jingle dress and the home of the sidestep, because that's pretty wide used out in the powwow world these days also. So, and then of course, I'll wrap it up. We'll talk a little bit, but then I'm open to questions. These folks are open to questions as well, anything that you have to ask. And Wendy's always kind enough. I did make this jingle dress. I make most of Wendy's jingle dresses. All of her jingle dresses. And yeah. All right, so I'll turn it over to, or here, so you can be in the camera. Yeah, maybe on the edge. Then Wendy can have this space. But yeah, enjoy. And you can clap when they're done. And yeah, I hope you feel some kind of, good feelings while you're watching Wendy and listening to John and Joe. Forgot it needs a second. So that was a straight song. Very beautiful, obviously. I'm just talking just to give them a little bit of a minute to drink and breathe after that. So yeah, this side step is actually, like I said, it comes from our ceremonial dances. And you can go to a powwow nowadays and see so many different versions of women dancing it in a certain way. The way that Wendy dances, the way that most of us ladies from Mille Lacs dance, is the way that we dance in our ceremonial dances, and we just keep it real and keep it going into the into if we go to a powwow. So yeah, without further ado, this is the second song. This is called the Side Step. That was awesome. All right, so a couple of things I'll just explain on that. So during the time where, I guess, I don't know, in musical terms, it would be the rhythmic change of the song. Our elders would say, "Za sa kwe," and that's what Wendy was doing there. That means, like, I don't know. I heard a really cool song that says it's mimicking the sound of a bird, or that you're making that noise to, kind of in like jubilation of the song, I guess. And the other thing, what was I? Now I forgot where I was gonna go with it. It happens. The tail. At the tail of the song, so those two spots where they kind of stop and then they start again, right there, our elders, Amika Gaboibun, who was speaking earlier, he would always get really into that part of the song, and he would be like, right there where that tail starts at the end of that song, like that's where you give your best moves and you really like get into it as hard as you can. And he would just like, and there's a term that we say when we're dancing that you give her, like at that point is where you give her the most at the end of the song, just because like you're tired and that's where you show all your best moves, even at the dance hall in a certain sense. Or if you're at a powwow, because you're right before you're about to go up for judging, I guess, in a way. So two fun things in that song. So this, like I said, every time I think about this and I get all emotional thinking about just our family tree in that sense, because the three of us didn't really grow up super close by any means. Wendy and I didn't really realize we were related for a long time. Neither did John and I. So it's kind of special. Again, it kind of goes back to that whole thing I said with like our great grandma Hannah handing off cones, and then here we are doing this presentation together. That all of us came from one of her kids, which is crazy. Like, didn't plan that. We didn't plan that. So it's very cool to be able to do that, especially with these folks here. And I just like, again, when you think of this dress and the way that it looks and the way that it sounds, and to think that somebody dreamt that, like, or even just to think about creativity and artistry, and that was kind of the, topic of my first discussion, what that can create in the world. It can heal, and we always like to think of things in like medical terminology, but like, it makes us feel good to be able to do this for folks and to share this and to really be proud of who we are, because for many of us growing up in public schools or otherwise, like, this wasn't cool, or we couldn't do this without being made fun of or like slurred or whatever, like all these different things. So it's just a crazy flip of that to stand in front of people and like together especially and be proud of it and like know this is who we are and who our not so distant ancestors wanted us to be, like think about that story with the jingles, man. It makes me feel like really cool about it. So I'll open the floor for questions. Feel free to ask me, Wendy, or if you have questions about singing or anything else or the language, you can ask John and Joseph. Here we go. All right, well, Joseph will come around here with the mic.
You said that when in the beginning you didn't make good dresses, but later you made good dresses. What makes a dress good to you?
Sorry, can you repeat that question?
Yeah, just briefly, what is a good dress? Because you were saying before that you didn't make good dresses, and now you make good dresses, or the better dresses. So what is a good or a better dress?
I think this is a definition of a good dress. There's different styles, and it's really all about the details that she'll put into it. So as you can see, like I have bows on the side, and there's not a lot of people that do that, but Adrienne does and puts her own, I guess, detail into it, and it just makes it special.
Yeah, and I think go a little bit further on that, when I first started, they were super basic even. Like, I would be scared to go outside of a straight line and be able to do it because my skill level wasn't up there. I would only stick to like cotton fabric. Now you can see with Wendy has like overlay, there's wrist detail, lace, all kinds of fun stuff. So I feel like as I've grown in my seamstress or sewist work, so has my work. And yeah, like Wendy said, I guess that's a good example. Yeah. I guess it's like, I think like women also enjoy the dresses too because of those small details, whatever sets it apart. Some, like Wendy started out wanting a lot of jingles. She was asked like, oh, I want them on the sleeve and everything. And now we've like, as age has come on, she's like, maybe not the arms, but like,
so they make them really hard to dance in. They do get heavy. You're throwing your body weight around on top of like the jingles, but I do have older style jingle dresses that I do wear. Like we did an event a couple weeks ago where it's just basic old style green fabric, one of the 4 colors, and super simple. But this is more like when I want to get fancy or if I want to feel more beautiful, I'll throw this one out.
Yeah.
So mine isn't really a question, it's a comment for Adrienne, because my husband, who passed away 2.5 years ago, was a Red Lake enrollee, and his passion was choke cherries. And so Sierra went to Adrienne and said, I want a dress to commemorate my grandpa with choke cherries. And she nailed it. That dress is beautiful. And Sierra is able to wear that dress in memory of her grandpa, dancing for her grandpa, and that will continue to be a thing in our family that will be handed down for generations to keep his memory alive. So, miigwech.
Yeah. And even right there, that's healing too, right? Miigwech for sharing that.
How much does your dress weigh?
This one is not so heavy. I would say like 10 pounds, but I do have one that's like 25, 30 pounds.
Oh, my.
So it's a light one.
Also, I was going to ask you gentlemen, when you, and I'm sorry if I'm showing my ignorance here, but when you do your singing, is there language that goes with that tells a story?
No, there's just straight songs. I mean, there's songs made with language in it. But I don't like singing them. I just like singing the old tunes and the old time tunes. So, but yeah, there are some with there's a lot with words in them. And the ones we sing, they're just straight. Yeah, you do.
It's more melody, and that's what makes it amazing for me when I hear it too, and I listen or watch, even as I've watched like young people get into the drum and learn about it, the way that it's picked up and how you can remember songs with no words is pretty amazing too when you think about it, and it's possible. You're seeing it live and I love this combo too of just John and his son, because it also is super meaningful. Anyone else? There's no ignorant question. We're all here to educate and help.
Are your songs handed down to you? Did you create those songs? And between, let's say, a shawl dancer and a jingle dancer and a grass dancer and a fancy dancer, are the songs different? So you say, okay, we're going to do this version. You all get together. If there was a host drum and there'd be 4 or 5 drummers, do you all plan that in advance?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to put this all together. Yeah, there's certain songs for each category. The grass dance, kind of like a slower beat. Sometimes they have a faster beat sometimes with the grass dance. And the fancy dancers, man, they fly all over the place. And they go 100 miles per hour. Same with the women's fancy shawl. What else did you ask?
If they were passed down to you, the songs.
Oh yeah, the songs we were singing now. I learned them from big drum ceremonies back in Mille Lacs over there. So most of the songs I sing are just old traditional tunes from the old people.
And so none of them have Ojibwe words in them?
There are some, yep.
In the songs you just did, were there Ojibwe words?
No, they're all just melody.
Okay, thank you.
We love the question.
You're making me run today.
So my question is, you talked about the origin of the dress as being the 4 basic colors. At what point did it get away from that? Or was that part of the original thing that it should be those colors, and Or was that not an important part to begin with?
So once those dresses, like I think they mentioned it they did mention in the video, they gifted them to other places. And then I suppose, I'm just supposing here, but that those folks in the recreations of them took upon themselves their own creativity and created what we see today, which can be really, and even like the dance style, if we're looking at what we would say is old style Mille Lacs dance, is that very just straightforward, what you saw Wendy do to the beat, and a side step that looks like this. Nowadays, like, there's women with fans and just like high steps, they do go backwards. So it's really like taking a, like a creative scope from all over the place. And to go further on that, this dress did originate in our ceremonies, but as the colonization of the United States was happening, there was these like Wild Bill shows, and they even had some here at the museum and at the what was it? The other one though. Yeah, there was another spot that was on Mille Lacs that it's failing me right now. Port Mille Lacs, yes, Fort Mille Lacs. So there was two families that one owned the trading post, and then there was the Fort Mille Lacs. And I remember even as a kid in the 80s, I'm not aging myself that bad, but it was the 80s, baby. I remember watching that, like, folks would do that. And prior to that, that was another way that people made money. They would pay those native folks like, hey, we're gonna have a Indian show, and people would come and watch that, and they would pay those folks. So it kind of got fancier too from even, I think, from those instances, because people were, doing it, to like be seen, and I think the colors like gradually moved from there. The 4 colors that are in the Mille Lacs story are a part of the drum colors, and so that's how those are tied. That isn't really explained why those 4 colors were dreamt, but they are a part of the drums that we have for ceremony in our community. Great question.
Hi, I know there are a lot of questions.
Hi.
But your video talked about the U.S. laws that were suppressing ceremonial dancing, about 100 years ago. Did your own family, did your great-grandmother experience that suppression or oppression?
Yeah, so everybody did. I think that's a piece of education that isn't as talked about now, and that's why I really kind of spun on the fact that Jushk is a language teacher, and that Amika Gaboibon carried that language forward for us, because there was, things that the government did with boarding schools and other things like that were not only suppressing culture, but working to erase it. And so the fact that all of these things were held on to, the language, and there's still folks like Jushk who can carry those old songs, because for a long time they did go underground, or people weren't like publicly or out there sharing them. I mean, if we think about those times, like, this would have been illegal, what you just watched. And that's how far we've come, and why I talked about the pride, and why I feel so like fortunate that our elders carried that for us to still have and be proud of today. So yeah, that's a whole nother TED Talk, but yes. Like.
Do any of you know how to say blueberry pie in Ojibwe?
We'll give it to John. I can say pumpkin, but not blueberry.
Mina bashki bena sagani bitusir jagani bidayin gwesir jagani bikoijagan. How's that? Hey. Back to your question, who was that about words?
Me.
Yeah, I had the powwow, like the powwow circuit today. There's a lot of drums out there that make their songs, so make their own songs, or they put a lot of word songs just talking about.
Well, John.
Come dance for us, or dance when we sing and all that.
Well, what's the culture of the bell ringings of culture where you're doing your music? What kind of style is your part in your culture?
So the jingle dress is like a part of the
like
healing?
a style, something like it.
Yeah. So if you went to a powwow, they would have a
The
specific.
powwow is like the powwow in chief. So that's what they always do is the powwow of their drums.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't born on then because my name is Andrew and I'm from here.
Hi.
I just want to tell you about the dress, the flying birds of what you're wearing, Randy. It's just a very good sound of the bird. It's just a kind of like a flying culture because that makes me feel good, and that's why it's building, and the spirit is what contribute to your family culture. It's John. What kind of music is your favoritism? What kind of color are they from, and from the state?
Are you able to summarize that question? Yeah, your favorite song.
What's my favorite powwow song? Style? Oh, those side steps. Man, I like singing those side steps more than those straight songs. Yeah, those straight. The first one we did, that's a straight song.
Thank you for sharing that.
I think we have time
Appreciate
for,
your question and your words.
I believe we have time for one more question.
Yep. I didn't hear it.
The question was, what is the importance of the dress?
So the importance of the dress is that dream and how meaningful that is to us as a woman wearing it and knowing that you're dancing for people that can't dance, and the fact that it's a healing dress. And every time you put it on, like, I'm healing all of you, like all your prayers and all your positive thoughts that you have is with me and with me dancing.
Yep.
Thank you.
Do you have time for one more sidestep? Do you all have time for one more sidestep? All right. Wendy's feeling it today. All right, we're just doing two and a tail. It'll be shorter one. All right. Yeah, if you want to come up and sidestep too, by all means, that was the question, and the answer is yes. Just be careful. Yeah, we can't. Okay. All right. No, go ahead. Get it. Yes. Be careful. John. Again, we really appreciate this and the opportunity and that y'all came to see this. And we love to share about our culture and very proud of that. So, miigwech for coming. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming. Much. We appreciate you coming out. Thank you so much for being here. There is some more information about other things that are happening in the college out in the lobby. Please take the time to check out International Education Week as well as the cross-curricular program for Silent Sky. It's in the hallway. Thank you very much. Look forward to dates about our Continuing Cultural Thursday program. We're taking a break in December, but we'll be back in January. Thank you.
So now what?
That's it.